As technological advancements and market demands continue to evolve, the importance of keeping our knowledge and skills current has never been more critical. I'm Hilary Topper, and this is Hilary Topper on Air. Today, we have a very special guest joining us. His name is Andy Atzert, and he is the Dean of Adelphi University's College of Professional and Continuing Studies. Andy, welcome to the show.
Thanks
So,
very
can,
much, Hilary.
so can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your role at Adelphi's College of Professional and Continuing Studies?
Sure. Well, I've been in higher education for about 30 years, and I've worked for a number of different universities, all involved in positions where we were serving adult learners or non-traditional populations. And that means not the usual 18 to 21-year-old folks who are going to get a college degree full-time or adults who are going full-time to get a master's, but people are generally working and going to school part-time. So that's been my thing. And I came to Adelphi back in 2019, just before that thing called the pandemic, you might recall, happened, and joined the College of Professional and Continuing Studies, which actually has existed at Adelphi since the early 70s, but it's had different names. Back in the early 70s, it was called the Adult Bachelor's Learning Experience. And basically that was a set of programs that helped adults who maybe had some college but no degree to go back to college and to earn their degrees. So Adelphi has had a history of serving these learners in the region, and I was very pleased to join Adelphi back in 2019 and begin to grow programs here for that reason. I was very attracted to it because Adelphi does have a history of supporting non-traditional learners.
Okay, what makes Adelphi's College of Professional and Continuing Studies unique compared to other institutions, especially on Long Island?
Yeah, so well, Adelphi has always had a particular reputation for personalized service to its students. And that takes a bunch of different forms. A lot of times students and parents, if it's a traditional student, may just think, how many students are there for each faculty member? And there's always been a very low ratio of faculty to students, and it allows for that personal attention. But with regards to adult learners or non-traditional students, that takes other forms as well, in addition to the fact that we have small personalized classes and faculty who are paying attention to the needs of specific part-time adult learners in classes. One of those things is that we have advisors who are not faculty, who are course advisors, who work with adult learners even before they come into our programs to help them map out how it is they're going to get from point A to point B. Point A being you're an adult learner, maybe you went to college 7 years ago, you had to stop out for various reasons. Maybe you started a family, maybe you got a job, maybe you moved and you weren't able to finish. And you've taken some training programs since then, and maybe those would count for college credit. And so when you go to look to finish your bachelor's degree, it's not a straight line path like it is for somebody just out of high school, where somebody can sit down and say, this is how you complete our bachelor's degree in biology, say. With an adult learner, it's a much more customized process that has to happen where our advisors will sit down with a prospective student, look at where they've been, look at what they want to do, and then look at our programs and say, okay, here are some pathways that you can take to get you to the end result that you want, which is graduation. And it's a very personalized process, and we work with adults for that reason. So that's if you want to finish a degree, and you may have some other questions about this, so I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but it's not only degrees that we have here for adult learners. We have both bachelor's and master's degrees, but sometimes what an adult learner needs is a non-degree program. So we have short courses, we have workshops, because oftentimes an adult learner just needs to learn about X so that they can do Y in their jobs. And so we try to make sure that we have a lot of non-degree, quicker programs that people can finish that are zeroing in on specific knowledge and skills as well. And so when you call our college and you want to talk to somebody to figure out what we have and how that'll work for where you're going, we've got people who sit down and talk with you about those things.
That's great. I remember several years back, people coming to me interviewing for jobs, and they had been out 7, 10, 15 years out of the marketplace, and yet they weren't really equipped to handle what the job was, 10 years later, especially with all the technology. So how do you address that? You said that you do take on adult learners. Can you talk a little bit about that, those people returning to career after leaving after raising their children?
Ah, that's very good. We do get a lot of people who are in exactly that situation, and again, we're very learner centered. We need it really depends on what the person wants to do. Are they trying to re-enter a career that they were in that they had left? That would argue for perhaps one sort of plan. Would Are they looking to start an entirely different career? That would
Yeah.
argue for a different sort of plan. We have the benefit of having a very robust center for career development and professional development here that aligns our students with jobs. That's not just traditional students, that's also open to people who are adults who are looking to switch careers too. And the reason I mention that is because you always need to find out what the employers are actually looking for, because it's not enough for a college or a university to say, we have X degree, go through it and graduate and get this degree. The thing is, and this is to the heart of your question, what are the knowledge and skills that employers are really looking for? And
Mhm.
so, number one, we adjust our curriculum all the time to meet the needs, make sure it's meeting the needs of employers, and things are changing so rapidly, frankly, that that's a very difficult thing to keep up with. But we endeavor to do that, and we work with students to do that. So it's keeping our curriculum fresh and current so that when a person comes to our programs and they do pick up knowledge and skills, it is the knowledge and skills that employers are looking for. And it's also putting programs in place quickly when we can to address new needs. So, of course, right now, AI is big. We're looking to bring some AI programs in. There's a huge need for healthcare programs on Long Island because of the aging population, and that's a growing industry. And so we introduced a number of new healthcare, allied healthcare related programs. Over the years, we have a program in palliative care, for example, programs in things like phlebotomy technicians, all are in which huge demand. So we serve the students by looking at the employment landscape, finding out what they need, making sure our programs reflect that, and then directing the students into the programs based on what their goals are, basically. So it's a kind of three-part loop in that way: the student, the employer, and our programs.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about that because it's really interesting. You're talking about, all the different, AI and long-term care and all that type of stuff. So what type of degrees, or non-degrees or graduate programs do you offer in your program? Can you talk a little bit more
Sure.
specifically about that?
Yeah. So when I came, I'm going to back up a moment to answer your question with some of the
Mm.
history. When I came, we had about 12 bachelor's degree programs. All of them, with the exception of one, were face-to-face programs that you had to come to campus. Now, as everybody knows, as soon as the pandemic hit, everything went online. But even prior to the pandemic, there was a shift in the world of education for adult learners to online programs. And Adelphi had begun to make that transition, and the pandemic really accelerated the need. But I was somebody who was involved in online education very deeply at other institutions I was in. And so part of what my role has been is to, even without the pandemic, I was planning to make the shift to all online. So what we did is we pared down our programs to a few that we think are very flexible and meet the needs of most adult learners who want to come back and get a degree. And we put those online. And so the programs are, number one, a very flexible bachelor's degree in business. And business degrees are the number one um, degree of interest for people who are coming back to complete a bachelor's degree. But it's only one. There's also several other areas that an adult might want to study when they come back. And so we have another degree, which is even more flexible degree. It's a bachelor's in liberal studies, which is essentially is a design your own bachelor's degree. And the way that it works is that you come into the program, you get credit for whatever credits you took at other universities, plus credit for some of the non-degree experience that you might have had where that can translate into college credit. So that shortens the time. And then we have several concentrations in that degree, which you can take. You can take as little as one, but you can also add other concentrations. And we're going to be adding to these. Right now, we have concentrations in business, in emergency management, which is emergency managing disasters and other kinds of kind of like homeland security kinds of things, psychology, and social science, all of which are some of the top areas for people to study at the undergraduate level. This fall, we've got some new things in the works. We don't have them out yet, but we're going to be offering programs in technology areas like cybersecurity or analytics and digital marketing. We also have a program that's going before the New York State Department of Education for a bachelor's in healthcare administration, which it always takes universities a while to roll out academic programs because they're regulated and they should be, and they need approval from the state. So should we get state approval, which we are confident we will in that program, we'll be rolling that out in 2025. And that builds on the strengths of Adelphi's colleges of business and the College of Nursing and Public Health and us as well. And once we get that program running, we'll have a concentration in our bachelor's degree in liberal studies in healthcare administration. So there are ways that a person can come to Adelphi, do a bachelor's program, a flexible program, and inflect that kind of a do-it-yourself type of a degree. And then the other undergraduate degree we have is a degree in emergency management, which was the first online degree offered by my college way back in 2010, I believe is when that started. And then there was one
Interesting.
master's program. We're going to add more, but there's one in emergency management, which also has a long history here at Adelphi. And we get a lot of people who have worked as first responders or in the military or in the area of enterprise risk management who come in and do that degree. And I should mention too that the people who teach in our programs are all practitioners. They're not only college professors, but people who have deep and ongoing experience in the field. And so they're very credible to adult learners who are also working in the fields and want to translate what they learn into practical experience. So it's theory and practice as well.
That's great. What's interesting to me, it kind of reminds me, I also teach at a local university, and
Hmm.
there was a woman in my class who was in her 50s, and she retired and was going back for her master's just because she wanted to learn.
Hmm.
Not because she didn't really care too much about the degree, it didn't really matter to her. She was just looking to learn something new. And so I think that's really important, and I think that getting this message out to the community is vital, really, because a lot of people just want to learn, and they're
Yes.
not looking to, do a new career or whatever. The other question I have for you is where are you drawing your people from, your students?
They primarily come from the region, and that's the way it is across the country. There are a few big national universities that do online programs that draw people from across the country, but for the most part, in the higher education market, universities are serving people that live within a 50-mile radius, even with online programs. Theoretically, and we do have some students who are in states, far away and sometimes other countries, but we really see ourselves as serving a regional audience, and that's who we serve. And We enjoy, Adelphi enjoys a good reputation in Long Island, and we've been going up in the rankings, and we're benefiting from that awareness on the part of the public. The one thing I will say, and I'll do a little bit of a plug since I'm on a podcast here, is that oftentimes those adults that you mentioned who want to come back and just learn may be intimidated about coming back and looking at a college to do that because they think, oh, how do I get in? And they see it as a big bar. That's not the kind of place we are at all. But I think in people's minds, it's like, oh, go back to college. I don't know if I'm ready for that. We've built programs that are just for adults, and we welcome people to come back. We even have, by the way, a program called community auditing, where a person in the community can take just about any course at Adelphi and sit in on that class, audit a class, as you call it, not for credit, and learn just because they want to. And so I totally agree with you. People sometimes want to learn not to get a new job or to propel their careers, but just that they're at the stage in life where they just want to do it just because for a sense of completion or curiosity. And we can help people with that too. So we're getting a lot of people from the local community who come in and sit in and take classes. Some are retired, some just have extra time on their hands, and some are just really, really curious and energized to learn. And we're a place that you can do that too.
I love that. Talk about the flexibility of some of these online programs. Could are they flexible, or are they
Mm.
set times, or
Mhm.
how does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question because it's a little bit complex, and I'll try to boil it down to this. Um, Most students these days want online, and that may not be because in a perfect world they not may not prefer online. And when you ask people and you do surveys, and we do, um, people sometimes often say, "Well, I really would like to have some interaction face to face or whatever." They prefer that. But that means that you've got to show up someplace at 6 o'clock, say, on a Wednesday night until 9 o'clock. And although in theory, yeah, I want to get together with people, particularly after the pandemic, people's lives are kind of very unpredictable. They might be on shift work. They may have to look at their kids one night. And so there's a kind of trade-off that adult learners make, and it boils down to them wanting to have a program that's flexible in that it doesn't require them to have to show up at a certain time and place. And so our programs are all online, and they're asynchronous, meaning that you don't have to show up on a Zoom call like we're doing right now. Faculty are available for office hours for these kinds of interactions, but the point is that in order to be able to have access to the content and the learning of the class, you don't have to show up at a particular time and be on camera or be in a classroom. The challenge for us is that's the flexibility. How do you make that a compelling learning experience for people? And so one of the other strengths we have at Adelphi is that we have a terrific center for instructional design that works with faculty that translates what most of them are able to do very, very effectively in the classroom into an online learning environment where we don't just point a camera at a faculty member lecturing at the front of the room and have people watch that for an hour. You have to do something completely different to make the online learning experience engaging for learners. And we think we do a very good job of that. We spend a lot of time and resources to make it thus. And so a flexible program means asynchronous online, but well designed as well. So you can actually stand to do it. Interactive with the faculty, interactive with the other students. The other thing we do, and this is very important, is that the length of our courses in the degree programs is shorter than the standard semester. And not just Adelphi, but other universities who do this have realized that's important. The reason is this quick explanation. Suppose you're an adult, you want to finish your bachelor's degree, and you figure you can take about 6 credits or 2 courses in a semester. If you were to do that in a normal semester, you'd be taking both of those courses over 15 weeks. And let's say each one of them takes, say, 12 hours of work a week. So you're spending 2 times 12, 24 hours a week across 15 weeks on these two courses. But you're switching between those two courses, right? What we do is we cut the semester in half, and our courses are 7.5 weeks long. We don't cut out any of the content. It's still the same content, and it's a 3 credit course, but you're just doing it in 7.5 weeks. And the point is, you just take that one class. So you're doubling the number of hours, right? It's the 12, but we're compressing the course. So you're spending 24 hours on that course, but it's just one course, one faculty member, one group of students. You don't have to switch your attention between two classes. And then you take the other course in the second half of the semester. So what that does is it doesn't shorten the time at all. It still takes you 15 weeks to complete those two courses,
Mhm.
but your attention is focused. And for many adult learners, the challenge with their lives is their attention is all over the place. They've got kids, they've got parents, they've got jobs, they've got responsibilities in the community, they've got the plumber coming over tomorrow. And anything that we can do to help people conserve their attention and their energy is part of the flexibility that we build into the programs. And we think that helps people succeed.
Yeah, it sounds really awesome. Well, before we move on, I just have to say that I am so appreciative of our sponsors and must take the time out to thank them. Please support our sponsors and tell them that you heard about them on Hilary Topper on Air. Special thanks to the Russo Law Group, Long Island Signature Estate Planning, Elder Law and Special Needs Law Firm, and Buddha Bath, a natural bath and body care company that offers a wide variety of products including body butter, bath bombs, soap bars, and sugar scrubs. Now back to you, Andy. So, how does Adelphi ensure that the knowledge and skills taught in the program align with employers? And we're going to go back to that question. Like, how do you actually know what employers are looking for?
Hmm. Um, it used to be you go and talk with employers, which we still do, and you show them a curriculum, and you have things like advisory boards. We have an informal one at this point, but actually, technology now allows us to find that answer in very interesting ways, and AI is a part of that. Um, when people go out and look for jobs, where do they go these days? You can talk to your friends, but a lot of times you go online and you look at a job board and jobs are posted online. And all that information is out there and it can be compiled and it can be analyzed by a computer. And you can add, and there are companies that we work with that analyze that data and tell us very quantitatively what jobs are available from what companies, what the growth trends are, what skills and knowledge do they require, what credentials do they require, and we can go back and look at our curriculum and do a comparison. And we're doing that on a regular basis. And now with all the advances of AI, I actually have a project this fall when our faculty come back to literally take our courses as they're written on the syllabi and feed them into this tool. And it'll do a comparison of the two things. Now, of course,
Wow,
it always
that's
takes a
cool.
human to kind of look and see.
Mhm.
But these are not things that or only guesswork. We are really serious about not only making sure that our programs actually in their content align, but we actually speak about them in the ways that employers speak. Because one of the problems with academia sometimes is that we have our own kind of language, and that language may not match what the language that employers are using. And that's really too bad because although we might be doing all the right things in our programs, if we're not describing that in a way that employers don't understand, or students can't present what they've learned in the language that their employers are attracted to, then we're really not fully serving our students well. And so, what I'm trying to do in the year ahead is use these technology tools to, if we need to, we probably do, go back and reframe what we're already doing a good job of in a way that makes it even more powerful for our students to project out to employers. So um,
It's
that's
good
something I'm
stuff.
welcome with these new. Yeah, it's really good stuff.
Yeah. So, with so many educational options out there, right? How do you help people make the right choice as to which program to pursue. I mean, that's a hard thing sometimes, people want to go back to school, but they're really not sure what to study. So how
Yeah.
do they, yeah, how does that work?
Yeah. Some big things I think that I would say for people. If your reason for going back to school is for your career, we always tell folks, no matter what we say, the bottom line is they need to do their own due diligence and go to employers and find out what employers want. And our Center for Career Development and Professional Development can help with that. But even then, it's not always entirely clear. Do you need to get a degree? Is a certificate okay? What's the difference between a certificate and a certification? It's super difficult for people to understand those things, and it's changing all the time. And we do our best to help students to navigate through all that. So there's only large things, sort of guidelines that I can say, which is number one, find out from your employers. Number two, what I would say is keep your options open as you proceed through an educational path. If you don't need to commit to a degree right away, is there a way that you can start smaller? If you don't have an associate's degree and you're not sure whether you want to get a bachelor's degree, maybe you should get the associate's first. Oftentimes, there's a way to take a certificate program first and have that build into an associate's degree. And those are bundled programs. And sometimes universities, including ours, have pathways from certificates to associate degrees to degrees. And so you can take baby steps and go forward and earn a credential as you go forward. And so I would say that. And then choose a provider that will support your success. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're comparing two bachelor's degree programs. The one that's best for you is actually the one that you can finish. And that might not be the cheapest one. That may be not be the one that's at the school that's got the biggest reputation, because the money that you spend on a degree program is only going to reap a return on your investment if you finish. And so you really want to find a place that is going to support you along the way. And so I would say is, and I think we're good at this at Adelphi, but you can test Adelphi against any other university out there. When you're shopping for a program, make sure that that program is going to see you through to the finish, and think about how what the challenges are going to be in your life to do that, and what kind of flexibility you're going to need, and make sure the program aligns with that. And the final thing I say along those lines is resist the temptation to make a decision like you were shopping at something at Amazon, and you sort of only look online and you only do a comparison, and then you just go and you register. That happens a lot. Those are called stealth shoppers, where, on the marketing side, where universities that do marketing and they want to get students and they want to have interactions with students, but students will sign up and come and submit an application without ever having an interaction with anybody. And that's a little frustrating for us on the university side, because we want to interact with people to make sure that they're coming into the right program. And I think it's a little dangerous on the student side, because they've never really had a chance to interact with actual people at the institution. So don't rely too much on online descriptions of programs. Dig in a little bit, contact people, get a sense of the actual humans who are going to be there to support you. And if you don't get a good sense of that, don't go.
Absolutely. Great advice. Thank you. And finally, can you share some success stories? Do you have any success stories that you could share with our listeners?
Gosh, I'm probably going to be biased toward the most immediate ones, but I'll take two different examples.
Okay,
We
great.
were very fortunate to graduate a class of bachelor's degree students this year. And one of those people was a woman who was 61 years old, whose several children had all gotten their degrees. And she said, now it's my turn. And she didn't need to do it, but she wanted to do it. And it took her
Lovely.
time. And she brought her whole family to the celebration. And she was the last in the family to get a bachelor's degree. and the oldest one to do so. And we were so happy to see her do that. So that was one success story. Another is on our non-degree side, we have enrolled very recently, and we have a partner at Lemoyne College in Albany with this. They have a center that brings in people from other countries who were doctors or other medical professionals in their countries, but they're not qualified to practice medicine here. And they're here on asylum or they're here as refugees. So there are people from Ukraine, there are people from Afghanistan and or Cuba, and they need to have jobs in the medical field, even though they're not able to work as doctors. And so, or with our allied health programs, we've enrolled a number of them so that they can re-enter the medical field here. And these are really qualified professionals. So we're helping these people who are fleeing sometimes horrific conditions in their countries to come back here and actually contribute to our society and earn some money as well. So those are two things that I'm really, really proud of that we're doing here.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Well, I just want to say my sister graduated from Adelphi University with her nursing
Oh,
degree. I mean, this is
all
way
right.
back when, but she really that was a really big deal, that she did that. So anyway, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. Can you tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about Adelphi and the program?
Sure. Quickest way is go on the webpage, www.adelphi.edu, look under academics and just say continuing education because you want to continue your education, and that's where you would come to. When you go to continuing education, you will actually find that Adelphi has many, many programs aside from programs in my college for adult learners. We're just one place, and so I've talked about those, but you'll see even more. And as I said before, don't just rely on what you see on the webpage. There are contact information there, and we invite you to call us and come in and visit or chat by Zoom with me or any of our advisors.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. This was really, really informative, and I hope a lot of people call you because it sounds like a great program. So thank you for being on the show. I also want to thank our sponsors once more, the Russo Law Group, Long Island Signature Estate Planning, Elder Law, and Special Needs Law Firm. For more information, contact vjrussolaw.com, and also Buddha Bath, a natural bath and body care company. For more information, visit buddhabath.net. And last but not least, I want to thank you, our listeners, for tuning in each week. If you'd like more information about this show or any other show, you could get in touch with us and visit our website at hilarytopper.com, or you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, Alexa, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, you name it, we're out there. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.